we can have your attention for a moment, please. You can take out your cell phones, handheld personal devices. They have to be turned off. They cannot be on vibrate, silent, or any mode other than powered off. If you're speaking this evening, please sign in. We also ask that you direct all comments, questions, and concerns to this board. If you do need to speak to one another, please take it in the hallway. It interferes with our opportunity to hear those that are speaking. And as always, we're going to be courteous to one another as well as courteous to time. We'll start this evening's meeting with first motion to open. Is there a motion?
I make a motion that we open this meeting of the Board of Architectural Review and Historic Preservation on June 27th, 2016.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Welcome to the June 27th, 2016 meeting of the Architectural Board of Review and Historic Preservation. My name is Curtis Highsmith and I'm your chair. I'd like to introduce our panel for this evening. We have Jeff Broadleib, Susan Stevenson, Christina Redding, and Brian Brady. We also have our historic consultant, Zach Studenroth, our legal counsel, Bill Robinson, Antoinette, and Charlie, we welcome you as always. We're going to start this evening's meeting with signs and first application, please.
First application is Harbor Hot Tub.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Some copies for review. When I was here 2 weeks ago, Ian Fife from Harbor Hot Tubs.
Okay.
2 weeks ago, we were talking about lettering across the top of the building. We have rescaled that. In fact, I found that my scaling was off on my original drawing. So this is, I worked with Mr. Fisher. We came up with we thought was a good compromise.
The material of the sign that's being used.
It's
acrylic. Acrylic. Nothing backlit.
No,
Will there be any lanterns projected towards it?
No.
Right.
No lighting at this time at all.
What do you mean at this time? Is there lighting for the proposed future?
If I was going to do lighting, I would be back here to talk to you about it.
I like that answer. So, any questions from the board? Brian?
No, I think it's much better.
Christine?
No, thank you for making the change.
Susan?
I think it's super busy. I was just there. The signs are very close together. There are no, across the street, there's just one sign on most of the buildings. This is a small building. It seems extremely busy, along with the pergola, the metal fence, the 5 different kinds of wooden fence have now appeared. And I worry we haven't even gotten to the rest of it. And there's kind of a hut. I just think it's too many signs too close. And there's also another sign for the other business.
The side.
This is a tiny little building. So I think one or the other, personally.
Jeff?
Yeah, I like that as well. I prefer to see one sign or the other. It looks like too much on such a small building. And the comparison to the ABOC sign isn't relevant, because they have just one sign across the marquee and no other signs, my opinion.
All right, we appreciate the reduction. It is within code. It was signed off by code enforcement. Was it? The new sign?
The original.
Did you have it read?
The original was.
The original was, which was out of scale.
Right.
That's kind of scary in itself. Any public comment on the application? Anything further from the board?
No.
All right, you have a 3-2 vote, so at this time we'll approve the application and move forward. Motion to approve.
I make a motion that we approve the sign on Hampton Road for Harbor Hot Tubs.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nay.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. Next application, please.
Next application, Brian McGrath, building and contract.
I am Ronald Fisher from the sign company for the applicant.
This is a contractor sign?
Yes.
It's going to be on the job site this here currently in the village of Southampton?
Yes.
Is this the correct font, color, as well as render you're proposing?
Yes, it is.
It's going to be on a wire hanger that sticks into the ground, or will there be any type of wooden?
Nothing out of the ordinary. White posts.
Okay, so it's named the company, Bridgehampton, telephone number, and builders to the side. That's part of the logo, correct?
Correct.
Brian, any comments?
No, I think it's very tasteful.
Christine?
No, it's fine.
I liked it.
Yep, good.
Any public comment on the application? Motion to approve?
I make a motion that we approve the contract to sign for Brian McGrath, builder and contractor.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next application, please.
Next application is Hampton Design.
Bernard Pellegrini with Hampton Design.
This is a contractor sign.
Correct.
It's gonna be on one of the sites that you propose.
Yes.
Okay. This is the correct font, color, and rendering that you're proposing? This is the actual copy of the sign?
Yes, it's a
Alright,
color
so it's the name of the
black
company, kitchens and bathroom, telephone number and website. Is that part of the logo where it says kitchen and bathroom?
That's part of our logo.
It's part of your overall logo. Brian, any questions?
Simple, things in place. Yeah.
Christine?
Fine.
Yep, great.
Any public comment on the application? Motion to approve?
I make a motion that we approve the contract to sign for Hampton Design Interiors, Inc.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, guys.
Next application, please.
the next application is for Union Cantina for lights.
Is the applicant present? Is the applicant present? Motion to adjourn?
Make a motion that we adjourn the sign application for Union Cantina, or for the light application.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next application, please.
next application is Kyle Aline Chu.
Hi, my name is Catherine from Kyle.
Okay. You are proposing decals that are in your window, correct?
Yes.
The awning is already up, it's not being proposed today, correct?
No, this is only for the decal,
Okay.
which will be letting the public know what vendors are within the store.
What vendors are within the store? So there's a list of vendors, is this an event, or is this gonna be?
No, it's a permanent decal.
Permanent decal. We try to get at least our signs not to look as billboardish as possible. When you start listing the amount of vendors, it becomes an advertisement tool.
Okay.
Should be a location of your company, name of the company. But I'll see what the board feels about it, but I think it would be very busy. Brian?
Is this a group of people that are gonna be in the store, so they're each putting their name on the window, is that
Yes.
how it's working?
That is correct.
Is it the labels that you're selling, I mean?
It's the labels,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just, yeah.
It's like, theory, I don't know what you're.
You can advertise, just not on the building. I mean, it's one of those.
Well,
things-
it's not for the purposes of advertising. It's for the purposes of showing what we carry within the location.
It sounds like there's multiple tenants in one location.
I don't, is
It's
that
not-
right?
It's a multi-brand retailer.
It's a multi-brand retailer. Christine, what do you feel about that?
How else are people gonna know what's in there?
Well, the name of the company the name of the company is that.
This is the name of the company.
My question is,
Yeah.
the name of the company, is that something that's common for the actual corporation itself? It has multiple vendors as part of it, so.
And that is a practice amongst other retailers as well.
Among your company?
But no, among my company, yes,
Okay, all right.
yeah.
It's not something that's customary here in Southampton Village, it's the reason why we're having some difficulties going back and forth. Because it would be the first time we ever had especially decal in a window that displayed a number of different companies which are, you're saying are a part of the whole, but not really. They're independent, you're just showing these different designs are within each.
We are a multi-brand retailer and we buy from other companies to sell within the store.
Is this, when you say multi-brand, is this the actual brand names, whether it be,
Yes,
I don't know.
Theory 7 for all mankind, I'm making
Mhm.
this up. Is that what's listed?
yes, correct.
I can't fit in any of it, so.
Yes, that is correct.
How many are there? Pretty many.
How many different companies, brands?
I would have to say, I believe about 15.
15. I would have an issue, just in setting a precedent.
Yeah. What's the name of the store?
Kyle by Aileen too.
Early stuff.
Why couldn't we just have the name of the store?
Yeah.
But that's
They
what
have
we're
the
saying.
name of the
They're proposing to have the advertisement of the various
I
brands.
understand that.
Exactly. So the name of the company is currently is on the awning.
Owning.
And they're also proposing the front name of the corporation, but what they're saying is in the doorway, the name of the different brands that they hold.
I'm fine with the awning and what's in the front.
Awning's not being proposed today, just the.
Yeah, but it's in general.
All right. Susan?
I think it's pretty much still there, pretty much writing, and that's been unnecessary probably.
Unnecessary. Jeff?
Yep, same.
Okay, any public comment before we move forward? Any public comment? All right, it seems that it's overall a consensus of the board that it's fine to have your front sign on the window. With the addition, the already pre-existing awning shouldn't be a problem labeling your organization or your company. But the names of the various brands that you hold would be something that's very busy, which actually set a precedent in the village of Southampton. I don't think we're prepared to go forward and do. So we would give approval based on the removal of the brands from the application. Is that something you're willing to accept?
Yes, I will have to review it.
Do you want time to
And
review
revise
that
it.
and keep the application
I will have to
open?
revise it because that's what the decal is,
Okay,
or the names, so.
all right. So you want to adjourn so you can have opportunity to go back and discuss this with whomever you wish?
Right, I can discuss it with the principal, the owners, but that was the purpose of coming here today, was to get that approved for
Okay.
the, yeah.
Okay,
But
so,
with the I think what we're saying is that we don't usually have more than the awning and the sign on the window. So revising the decal might not be the direction you
no,
would want to go.
we're asking that the names of the.
Right, and then we also have the signage in the front as
Yes,
well, yeah.
that's-
Yeah, that's all
That
cool.
doesn't seem to be any opposition,
Okay.
and that you can actually have a
Right.
vote this evening.
Okay.
The question is, if we approve that, what we're saying is it will
Without
be
the
with the
vendors,
removal of the
right,
vendors.
okay,
Which means if some reason you decide to come back before us to make another argument,
okay.
the application has already been approved, and then you would have to reapply for a new permit. Or you can request us to adjourn, have some type of discussion with every corporate entity or the principals involved.
So can I adjourn, so that way I don't have to
Adjourn.
resubmit,
All
okay.
right, motion to approve applicant's request to adjourn.
I make a motion that we approve the applicant Kyle and Eileen Tu request to adjourn to our next meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next application, please.
Next application is Infinite Gallery.
Is the applicant present?
Scott Library Gallery.
Okay.
Got copies of it as well.
So this is just the one sign that's on the,
Yeah, we're gonna be replacing the same exact sign with just our logo instead of logo that's there.
okay. This is correct font, coloring,
Yes, sir?
black and white sign.
Yes, sir?
All right, black lettering, has your little affinity, which I'm assuming is the corporate logo.
Exactly.
No lanterns, lighting are being proposed?
No, sir.
Okay, any questions? Fine.
Yeah,
Christine?
fine with me.
I'm fine with that.
Jeff, any
Yep,
questions?
it's fine.
Any public comment on the application? Motion to approve?
I make a motion that we approve the application for Infinite Gallery
Se-
on Jeff Lane.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
I don't have it on my.
And our final sign application for this evening.
Hampton's Financial.
Ron Fisher for the applicant.
Is this a contractor sign?
He's the financing company, so that's how they classified it, was as a contractor.
The bank is putting a sign on it.
Yes.
Where is this going, on a building site?
No, it's gonna go on post in the yard.
Is this a resident or commercial building?
It's on Halsey Lane, I'm pretty sure it's
Oh,
residential.
that's residential.
Yeah, residential. So
Why
they're
is it
doing a refinance or a purchase, and the mortgage entity.
They're a
wants to use it.
renovation, so they're funding the renovation that's going on there.
We're stepping out of the
I
line.
understand.
Yeah, we're really stepping out of the line with this. I mean, if there's work to be done, and if the contractor, or even stepping over the line sometimes with some of the interior designing and so forth, pool companies, but now you're talking financial institutions that want to, will have yards full of
He's
Chase,
also the general
HSBC
contractor.
and
Right,
everything.
right. That particular bank was also the general contractor of the project, which I think is how he persuaded the building department to let it get this far.
It's a slippery slope, guys. I don't know how you feel about
And
it.
it should say Hampton's Financial
Building company.
Building
building company instead of
Not
real estate funding?
It says real estate funding, which really indicates money.
It should be a contractor or an architect.
Okay, do you mind adjourning it, because I got the call at 6:30 that.
We don't mind joining, but I just want to turn to council. We're following precedent, not necessarily rule.
Well, it's a contractor, then he's got a contractor's license. If he doesn't have a contractor's license, then he's not a contractor.
I need a copy of the license to indicate.
Can't speak on that.
Well, just tell them that's what they need. If they're going to purport to be a contractor, telling the building department, oh, we're a contractor, then let's see the license.
Okay.
So you're
Yeah,
request to adjourn. All right. Motion to approve applicant's request to adjourn.
I make a motion that we approve the applicant's Henson's financial request to adjourn to
Oh,
our
I'm
next
sorry.
meeting.
Sorry. In the event that he doesn't have a contractor's license and wants to proceed as a real estate funding, he can come before you, or you're gonna say
You
no
can
to
come
that?
before us. You may
But you're
not
gonna
like
say
it.
no, I'm
Yeah,
saving the time.
I may not like it.
Okay,
Just-
all right. Thank you.
All right.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Concludes our sign permits for this evening. First application, historic.
Just sign it.
first application is Thomas and Meredith Joyce.
Bailey Larkin with Bennett and Reed, offices at 212 Windmill Lane in Southampton. I believe at the conclusion of the last public hearing on this application, we had asked that the public hearing be closed for this, and the
Yeah.
board requested additional time to review the material that had been
We didn't close
submitted.
the public, we had adjourned the
I
application.
understand,
Yeah.
but I believe Mr. Bennett had asked that it be closed.
Yes, for a few things.
Yes, so I believe it was left open for additional time to review the information you had filed at the last meeting. And unless there's any questions, we would ask that it be closed at this time.
Okay. After reviewing some of the documentation, I think it was the board, and also talking to our historic consultant, we feel because of the delicate nature of this application, we have some questions. We have some questions. And I think it would be best that we take a third-party review at this application and see if we could determine, not just from our historic consultant, but in whole, because there's a lot of questions that need to be answered, and so that we're thorough, we'd like to at least take the time to have just a third eye, take a look at it and do an evaluation. It's my recommendation as chair. I'll see if the board feels the same. Brian?
I agree.
Christine?
I agree.
Fantastic. Fine with that.
Yes,
Okay.
great, that'd be helpful.
Zach, from your opinion, so what we would do is we would look at opportunities to look at someone in the field that is obviously not Zach, but just for us to have just a third look at it, so we're sure that the evaluation is accurate and there's no question.
Okay?
Okay? Any questions?
No?
Any public comment on the application? So it will be adjourned so that we can review that information. Council, since we are requesting the review, we should adjourn the application as the board.
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn the application.
I make a
State
motion that
the
we
reason
adjourn
why.
the application.
Oh, sorry, for the record, motion to adjourn the application in order for the Village of Southampton to hire, to search and hire a third-party historic consultant to come in and do an evaluation on the property.
I make a motion that we adjourn the application of Thomas and Meredith Joyce so that the Village of Southampton can research and find somebody who can advise us on this application, on the historic nature of this application.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Next application, please.
next application is the estate of John Hoster.
Bailey Larkin with Bennett and Reed on behalf of the estate of John Poster. I believe at the last public hearing, Mr. Bennett and Steve Bedford appeared on behalf of the applicant, and we had submitted a lengthy discussion and advised that we were submitting an engineering report for the board's review. On Friday, we had hand-delivered copies of an engineering report prepared by Amman and Whitney, and also a supplemental analysis from Stephen Bedford,
Friday, Friday, what date?
just this past Friday.
Okay, so this is over the
Just this past
third
Friday.
day.
We would submit that the inclusion of the Almond and Whitney report is appropriate right now with this application. It's not a demonstration of hardship, but it's a discussion of the integrity of the historical materials and the feasibility of rehabilitation of the structure. The report concludes, attempting to renovate the residence to retain a fair condition of structural integrity will necessitate destruction of historical elements of the house, in addition to those previously removed. After performing the recommended repair and remediation work, little of the historic integrity of the exterior of the residence will remain intact. The findings of the Almond and Whitney report are consistent with those that we had submitted from Stephen Bedford, both through his testimony and through his written submissions. We also submitted a supplemental analysis from Stephen Bedford, which discusses the report and also discusses his conversations with the caretaker for the home regarding repairs made to the existing structure, specifically those panels with the broken tile pieces on the facade of the house. In his letter, he estimates that over 50% of the exterior has been replaced by an insensitive treatment that has significantly and irretrievably altered the building's appearance. I also would like to just submit tonight a letter from Mr. Bennett, which discusses both reports that we submitted just this past Friday.
Do know that we received this information on Friday, business day prior. We need some time to review. We also need time for any public comment, discussion, and also for a historical consultant to review the submission and be able to determine some information.
I understand.
Have you seen it yet, sir?
No.
I do have extra copies if you need.
Do you need a copy? Anything further?
No, that's
All right.
it.
Since this was just submitted, since this is just being reviewed now, check to see if there's any public comment. Other than that, we'll adjourn. This is giving us the opportunity to review and to make either comment or request clarification.
Sure.
Any public comment on the application? Anything further from the board? No?
I have
You can
extra
have an
reading.
extra copy.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. So you'll allow us to adjourn?
Yes.
All right, motion to approve applicant's request to,
Make a motion
applicant's
that we-
approval to adjourn.
I make a motion that we approve the applicant, the estate of John Costa on Gin Lane, request to adjourn to our next meeting.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next application, please.
next application is Anthony Mornares. Driveway deeds.
Good evening, Anthony Mornares. I'm here regarding the reconstruction and replacement gate on 130 Hill Street. I want to apologize to the board that this gate was built without a building permit, without me knowing this requirement at that time, because it was replacing an old gate. But researching the building code and the architectural standards for historic district, I was unable to find any requirements of the transparent and solid portions of the gate, which are the issue
Okay.
on hand. At this point, I'd like to clarify my arguments regarding this particular gate and this particular property. This property is located next to the Catholic Church, directly east to it, and it experiences heavy pedestrian and traffic loads during services. And this gate is to preserve the privacy of the property and also to prevent churchgoers who by mistake think it is the parking lot of the church. It has happened to me years ago when I built the first gate, and that was the reason I built it. And I also installed a sign saying 130 Hill, so people will realize it's a property, a private property, and not a church property or an annex of it or something like that. Because I had parking problems on my driveway, I approached the police department years ago and asked them to permit the highway department to paint stripes so people will not park on the driveway or right next to it, which will cut my visibility. And of course, the police department approved it and instructed the building department to maintain those stripes for my safety and my privacy. I'm bringing these examples to this board because it is an issue of privacy. This gate serves privacy. And also, in addition to that, immediately next to the driveway, there is a swimming pool. If this gate, let's say, was 100% transparent, you have no privacy. And people outside, do they want to see bathers? The issue, again, is privacy. And this is one of my arguments regarding this gate. It serves the privacy of the owners of this property. In addition, I did a quick survey in the area. And along Hill Street, there are other properties which do have driveway gates with much higher solid portion in them than mine. I have photographs, and I calculated their percentage of solid versus transparent section, and my gate is much less than in the transparent. So what I'm saying here is the other point, besides the privacy, is the consistency of standards along different properties. I have here some photographs of neighboring properties I submit to the board for their consideration. This is one property, 2 copies. This is another property, 2 copies. To illustrate the existence of other gates on Hill Street, the historic district, which are much, let's say, worse than mine. And I cannot see why I am asked to do something with my gate since there are other properties that exist.
Okay, I want to just try to approach several things that you've stated, just so that you understand for the record. Let's start off first by stating your application is incomplete. Start with that. I have one color rendering, one drawing. The application requested there be 2 copies of everything in one. Start there. In terms of transparency in the code, there's no code that says there's a percentage of transparency. Just like there's no code that says homes have to be cedar shingle, white trim, it's like there's no red doors. There's no specific code that states what the aesthetics of anything should be in the village of Southampton, which is the reason why a board, an aesthetic board, has been created, that we can do the evaluation based on a case-by-case basis, and then do an evaluation to see if the applicant warrants the type of transparency that you're proposing, or the type of transparency we're trying to maintain within the village of Southampton. The reason why we have been consistent with the transparency is that these gates, especially on the highways such as Hill Street, has a tendency to look like they're stockade, they're exclusive, and the community of Southampton Village should never be a community that's exclusive. It should never be a community that doesn't welcome or not welcoming. It was always a streetscape which allowed people to view the vista of your front yard. And it's because of that beauty, people moved here over years and years over time. And unfortunately, what's happening lately is people are putting up large hedges, driveway gates, and saying stay out. Not really a warm, fuzzy community. It's not even a definition of community. So transparency, that's the reason why we looked at transparency. Other gates, I can't attest to those being approved. We don't know if they didn't go through the same process you did, where you just put it up and didn't get approval. And because we're not an enforcer board, we are not in a position to go out there and look at every single gate and knock on doors and say, where's your building permit on That's the building department's responsibility. So if you feel that these gates were built illegally, I would respectfully request that you go to the building department, see if it has, and then maybe you can do a report or file a report stating that it's unfair. And in terms of consistency, I think we've been very consistent with that.
Sir, I'm not an inspector. My job is not to survey.
Neither are we.
So, but I'm brought here because I was told I should present my case to the board for approval or review. And the review, my essence of my application is privacy.
Understood.
Privacy is of paramount importance to individuals. We pay a lot of money for our properties, we are entitled to the privacy. That's how I see it.
Understood, sir. Brian, you have any further comments?
No.
Christine, do you have any further comments?
Not at this time.
Jeff, you have any further comments?
Well, other than I think the arguments you make don't necessarily hold water, at least in terms of my opinion. In terms of consistency, the most inconsistent of the gates is your neighbors, who has a beautiful white transparent picket fence, which is very appropriate for the neighborhood. And to Curtis's point, welcome. You speak about privacy. Your driveway is 75 feet long, 100 feet long. Okay, so a clear gate or a stockade would give you as much privacy as your driveway provides. If parking is the issue, you could have a 3-foot gate and it would keep cars out. So none of that bears the necessity for a totally non-transparent gate.
That doesn't seem
You're
to
not mentioning the swimming pool that's next to the driveway.
I couldn't even see the swimming pool through the hedges or anything else like that.
Well, if you have some bathers standing up, you will see them.
It doesn't seem that you have the votes to move on with the application as submitted, which, by the way, is incomplete. Without two plans that are being proposed, this board, I even question has jurisdiction because it's an incomplete application. However, the consensus of the board are that what you presented is not acceptable, and that we suggest that you come back with a more acceptable plan and duplicates.
I beg I differ with the opinion. I believe
It happens a lot in this village.
Privacy, and this is not what I'm entitled to.
Yes, sir. We appreciate
Okay.
the process. Motion to adjourn?
Did he request?
He didn't request anything.
Okay. I make a motion that we adjourn.
Well, the application is
gate
incomplete.
application.
Wait 1 second, which I was gonna lean to.
And there should be a survey in there too.
And there should be a survey in there too.
What's
Is there there is a survey, I believe. Check to see if there's a survey.
Yes.
Does it show location of the gates, of the gate on the survey?
Yes. But there's no duplicate, so. Since that's the determination that it is an incomplete application, we don't need to adjourn the application because it wasn't.
incomplete.
Well,
It's incomplete.
you could dismiss it as incomplete, you can adjourn it as a courtesy, or you can dismiss it on the merits.
Out of courtesy, we'll,
Yeah, it's not big.
yeah, exactly.
The swimming pool's 120 feet. It's in the back of the property.
Get your binoculars.
Well, if they're standing up
Oh,
and they play on the Knicks.
Yeah,
So
okay.
motion to adjourn, please.
Are we
No, motion
Motion.
Am I
To-
adjourning it?
No.
Oh,
Yes, you're adjourning it on the request of the applicant.
Okay. Motion to request the, I'm sorry, I have a question on that because if it's an incomplete application, it doesn't require any closing. It really wasn't properly open if it's incomplete.
If it's open, you have jurisdiction, if he submitted the affidavits, then you have jurisdiction to determine that it's incomplete.
Okay, all right. So motion to.
If you want to adjourn it, then adjourn it on the grounds that the application is incomplete.
Motion to adjourn motion to adjourn on the basis that the application is incomplete.
I make a motion that we adjourn the application of Anthony Ganaris on Hill Street on the basis of the fact that the application was incomplete.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Next application, please.
Zach Burden.
Good evening.
Good evening. Zach, you have information for us?
I do have some copies. Just gonna pass through them.
Did you want this?
It's gonna go.
Look at the top there.
All right, so you are adjourned. Just for the record, Zach and I actually did a site visit today. And upon that visit, Zach will be doing a report at the next meeting with our findings. What the applicant submitted here is before and after pictures of the work that has been done to demonstrate what the changes have gone. You changed the
front window,
Okay.
front door.
The front door was changed.
That's a before
And
picture of the side light.
And he changed it.
Yes.
Is there a plan in here?
Well, that's the reason why the
Oh, okay.
applicant is requesting to adjourn.
Oh, okay, just checking, I kept going and looking. That wasn't even in this today.
So you have new information. You're also going to propose the plan shows the work that was done, right, from the
Yes.
architect? All right, so you're requesting to adjourn, so you can prepare yourself with that
Yes,
information?
sir.
And Zach, you'll have the report at the next meeting.
Yes.
Any public comment on the application before we adjourn, per the applicant's request? Anything further from the board? Motion to,
I just have one question. There seems to be a tendency to do work first and then come to the board afterwards. Can we have it on faith, whether it's right or wrong, for you not to do any further work on that property?
The old shop has been done.
So all this stuff has been done
Everything
that
has
you
been done.
otherwise would have needed approval?
Before I took over, it was already started. All I did just finish it. And they informed me they had all permits and everything.
Okay, can I suggest that don't take that as the gospel? That there should really be, it's not in my power to issue a stop work order, but you should really think twice about whether you do any work.
I won't do any more.
Can I ask, did you purchase this property or a business entity that you own, control,
I
or have
leased
an
it for
interest in?
20 years.
Pardon?
I leased it for 20 years.
You leased it,
Yes.
but now you
Lease.
own it or you
I own
lease
it.
it?
I
You purchased it,
purchased the lease.
the lease, but
Who
not
owns
the
the land?
Mr.
Somebody
Azair.
else. EZAIR. And so, are you the agent? Yeah, it does say that,
yes, he is.
yeah.
So you've been operating the property for 20 years, is that what you said?
No, just lease it for 20 years.
You've been leasing the
No,
property
he
for
just
20
has
years.
this.
I just got it 6
Just
weeks
signed
So he
it.
said he
20.
has a 20-year lease.
Oh, okay.
I missed that part too.
Sorry.
Okay, I think that's what, yeah, because
That's funny,
All
there's
right,
been a
he has
lot
a
of other
20,
things.
he has a 20-year lease. All right, so the applicant's requested adjourn, the application's still in building stages. Zach has to do a report, applicant's gonna come. And yeah, this is becoming, I think one of the applicants said before, it's, do the work and ask for forgiveness later. But Zach, in your report, you'll just demonstrate what the changes, what the adjustments were, suggestions, and some of the suggestions to remedy which were done. And then we hopefully can come up with some resolution by the next meeting. Okay?
Thank you.
Anything further from the public? Motion to approve the applicant's request to adjourn.
I make a motion that we approve the applicant Zach Urdan's request to adjourn to our next meeting.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good luck.
Thank you. I recommend.
Next application, closed for written decision by council. Do you have one?
In the file is a decision approving the applicant's request. An affirmative vote on the motion will be to approve the certificate of purpose for demolition.
Yeah.
You don't have it?
What's that?
motion to approve written decision by council for 649 Hill Street.
I make a motion that we approve the written decision by council from Mary C. Phipps at 649 Hill Street.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Did we give him a copy of the original?
Just a copy. Does he have it?
Yeah.
Next application, please.
Next application is Jovan Dorovich.
Good evening, procedures, Southampton Engineering. On the previous meeting, we had some comments about the side elevations and some of the dormers on the building that we're proposing. And we tried to address that. You can see that there is 4 and 5. It's actually the side would be.
So east front elevation, can you demonstrate what changes you made to the?
There was nothing on the front. All
I
this,
can't hear it, guys.
There's a change on the front. Our previous application had a porch going all the way across. We cut that back, and the reason was to create a covered porch on the back of the house, take some of the square footage from there and then utilize it in the back. And that's the only change on the front. And then on the north and south, we basically, there was a comment about the big dormer that we had on both elevations. We reduced the size of that. We also removed some of the windows, or reduced the number of windows on both elevations. Those are pretty much the adjustments that we made. We also presented a rendering showing the strong view on Elm Street with the 2 houses next door, to north and to south.
Excuse me, could you repeat what changes you made?
It's the front elevation. We had a porch going all the way across. We reduced the size of the porch, and instead of having a shed roof, we incorporated a small railing.
A small what?
Railing on the top of the deck, on the top of the porch. And then on the sides, north and south, we had a larger dormer on the roof. We reduced that as well.
The dormer was removed or reduced?
Oh, reduced the size of the dormer.
You removed the front porch.
Reduced it.
Reduced it, and instead you put the, railings on top,
yeah,
decorative railings on top.
Obviously, he wanted to use that lot coverage in the rear for a covered porch.
But we really need a back porch. Just since we never sit in the front, we're gonna sit in the back. Covered porch. That's the reason we did this.
Where's the covered porch?
Yeah, no, the covered porch here in the front.
Yeah, but
And
now
there's
it's
the
in the
covered
back,
porch,
okay. It's a very long house. frontage on the street is much shorter, smaller than the length east-west.
I think the front, I know what you were trying to do, I just think the front porch gives them, it gives a more traditional home than the decorative front railing. I see you doodling, so that means you still think these dormers are oversized?
No,
The
to
gables?
me, a couple of things. I think putting the front porch, it needs to come across the whole building. I
Well, still
think it's trying to be a 4 square and it should look like a 4 square. And because now that the house is far forward on the lot, it's almost where, you know, it's forward of the other houses, you see more of the side. And that side is very, very long and still reads like 2 different architectural styles. It's, the front's a 4 square, the back's, you know, the gable.
Well, the front isn't a 4 square anymore.
Well, with the porch it would be. So, you know, I think it still needs some work. But
Specifically,
it's
is
good
they
improvements.
start from the roof down, because I think, yes, you had issues with the oversized,
Well, they
Yes.
changed, the way they added dormers around is very successful in the front instead of those massive dormers there. It needs the front porch back on it, and when you get to the side, it's reading just like a long house, and it needs to be either stepped back at a point, a foot or two, to get a break in it, and the roof line readjusted somehow.
Christine, comments?
I think the front porch needs to go back on. I think the dormers are good, but I agree that this side, unbroken side, is just when you're coming up Elm Street because the house is forward, that's what you're gonna see, this massive. I just don't think it works.
Jeff, comments?
I would just be repetitive of Brian and Christine's.
I thought Brian was right. His suggestions were to the point.
Did you hear the suggestions?
I don't understand. Last time was just a roof issue, and now because the porch is not, because I need a porch in the back, so you're telling me I cannot have it back porch, because I have to put in the front.
That's a zoning issue.
You
But
changed
I have
the
a
design.
coverage.
You-
Yes, but I'm doing under my coverage where I legally can cover the lot, and I can design a house where it's for my needs.
Right.
If you're gonna put me in the front, force me in the front, and I don't have back porch, I don't understand why.
You can always reduce the house and you can have what you want.
I'm reducing to the maximum that, whatever, I am
You are,
under
you
coverage.
absolutely are
I can,
increasing
you
to
don't
the
like my
actual
design, that's the issue. You don't like my design, I'm in a square footage, and I'm strictly being in a square footage now.
Okay.
But I don't understand why you don't like, because you don't like
A
design.
house of this
I have
style
to
would
reduce
have a
the
front
house.
porch all the way across.
You're saying don't like the
But there's
style.
3 houses with the same design with a balcony and that's in that area. 3 houses, because we were very careful about the putting house there, that's tradition, that's a village house. And only now, because we had a problem with the porch in the back, we kind of had to reduce a little bit the front porch to put in the back. We are still not covering all back porch, but we need a place to sit. And now we
It would be
cannot-
more successful if that porch were centered on the house. Is there a way you could rework the design to have that?
But I don't have
It's-
entrance in the center.
Right.
So you have to understand, and I get your argument, I get your
Yeah.
complaint, and it's your house, you want to design in your
Yes.
manner. Issue is that we're in a position where we have to review every application and give our
I understand
interpretation of
your
that
point.
application.
But
In the original application, you had a design where we had a few comments. You come back.
only roof comments, not the
Exactly,
house.
and then you came back and you changed the front of the house. So now you open the door for us to now re-comment on everything.
Okay.
Because if you make an adjustment, contrary to what we've already determined was okay, then you open the door for us to say, okay, now we have to take that into consideration. And based on the design, its view, and 5-panel board, we feel that the original style looked better. Now that's what we are, we're an aesthetic board. it is about, look, it
I
is
love the
unfortunately.
porch, front porch also.
You
That's
can-
what we did in the first place. But
understand.
then I need the variances because.
We're not asking you to do a variance, we're asking you to build within the footprint that you are allowed, but we're also saying that there's a style and a design that that we'd be
I know.
favored for. So you have the authority, as the architect, as the owner, to build within that footprint to make it work.
But we're gonna be in front of you 10 times here, we're gonna not get approved because.
Well, if you keep changing other things every
No,
time
we
you
are
come
not
forward.
changing, we are just trying to have a porch where we can sit in the back and to cover in the lawn. But now we took a little bit from the front to put in the back.
Sir, I understand that, we understand that.
And we are not allowed
We understand.
that. I cannot distribute my
Sir,
space.
hear me what I'm saying to you. You have a footprint that you can build on.
Yes.
We have the responsibility to look at what that footprint looks like, and to
Okay.
review it, and to analyze it, and to make
Okay.
recommendations based on that. That's what we're doing this evening.
Okay.
Now, you can either follow that code,
I'm willing to follow code. If you can design a back porch somehow, what should I do? To have a back porch and to make a acceptable front.
I don't understand what you just said.
I need a back porch.
Okay.
So to make a front acceptable, how am I gonna do it in the footprint I am allowed to build?
You still, I guess you're not understanding. You have a footprint. So all of the design based on that footprint that you have, that you're allowed, you have the authority and you have the creativity to make it work. We're not asking you to we're not asking you to go before any other board for any type of relief or variance. We're just saying, this is your footprint, build a home and come before us and allow us to review it.
But what I understood, I have to have the front porch. That's what you accepted.
We're saying that we would prefer the front porch to be part of the application.
I would, but I cannot have it because I don't have space.
Then we're going around in circles, because that's what this 5-panel board just said.
Okay.
So you have within the envelope, and you have a very talented architect who can work within the parameters of that to make sure that all setbacks, as well within within the allowable footprint of the Village of Southampton. You have that discretion and work with him to do so. We only have the responsibility of looking at it and making recommendations based on that. Anything, I'm sorry, Zach, do you have any comments?
I have a couple of observations. You don't want to prolong it. But just the effect, the visual effect of those side walls.
Yeah.
I think that if the roof line toward the back of the house on the lower level of the back extension as well as the upper roof, if those roofs were clipped off in the same way the front were, because that's just attic, that's not space we're living in, I think the visual effect of that would be greatly minimized by dropping those down, just a thought. I'm always troubled by these are little brackets under the roof in the cornice. And you see them in profile, they're actually brackets, shallow brackets that project about 2 feet. Those originate as rafters, structural. They should be spaced evenly. They're treated here as decorative elements like little squares that appear along the facade. As long as you're trying to replicate, or your design choice is to replicate a house that has a historical style, those little things which appear as squares on the facade should be evenly spaced. Otherwise, you have these pseudo rafters sticking out at all these various spacings, and I think that's odd, just from a design standpoint. I also think you could center that porch on the front facade. You're going to shift it over.
Has to rework his plan.
Yeah.
Interior, yeah.
Well, I think you could catch that entrance doorway to the side of the front porch. So I don't see that there's a major amount of work here, but I think there's some tweaking.
Well,
Just like that.
we also, last time, had concerns about the long sides and the windows in those sides, which you
We moved a lot of windows out.
I'm sorry?
We reduced a lot of windows
Yeah.
from last time, yeah.
Anything further from the board? Ryan? Christine? Susan?
No.
Any questions, Zach? Any questions of the applicant? Any public comment on the application? Right. So you'll come back, I mean, you'll be able to come up with something Steve.
Thank you.
Request the application to be adjourned, so you can, yeah. Request the application to be adjourned until the next
Yes.
meeting. Motion to approve application request to adjourn until the next meeting.
I make a motion that we accept the applicant Jovan
Approve the applicant's request to adjourn.
Todorovic request to adjourn to the next meeting.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. It concludes our historic applications for this evening. First application, non-historic.
22 Windmill Lane.
Hi, how are you? My architect and the expediter that was previously here on this application wasn't able to come. I'm the owner.
Your name, please?
Ian DeFranz. Just, you have the application, all the, from previous time, right? So, okay, I don't have that with me. I do have some photos that I wanted to submit of things that are visible at the property that we're gonna salvage. Because basically the idea is to, as part of the historic house, salvage everything that possibly can be salvaged as we peel back the house, that all the additions that were added to it. I just heard from before, I didn't know that you need 2 copies, so maybe we're gonna have to adjourn until we get 2 copies, but I can submit these photos. These are all interior pieces that are gonna be saved. And then we found also a house in Sag Harbor that is the same exact time period, same left side entry, same clapboard facade that we're gonna replicate. My argument would be that, you know, this is non-historic. However, due to the nature of the property, we wanted to save it. The first idea was to donate it to the Historical Society, but it's cost prohibitive because I don't have the money for it, basically. What I want to do is salvage it to the best I can. I know you guys wanted to have a historical expert to deal with it. However, my family's been in the antiques business in Americana specifically for over 30 years. My father is very versed in, we've been also in construction for 30 years as well. I work in the city as a building manager, and I work with the Landmark Preservation Commission to restore facades of old buildings in the city. So I think with that guidance and the fact that it's non-historic and I'm willing to save whatever I can possibly save on the property, I think that should be enough to move forward, barring any other concerns.
I thought that the last meeting we already did, I thought there was an agreement to look at, and at least bring Zach involved.
Yeah, I wasn't here unfortunately. I know Zach recommended a person that would be a historical expert to consult on it. However, I would have to pay that person. That would be a 4th person that I'm paying before I even get anywhere. And I didn't want to have to go out of pocket for that. You know, because
I thought,
my family already
didn't you volunteer yourself?
No. Well, I wouldn't use the word volunteer.
I was told that, I was told by Lori, who was here in my stead last time, that you couldn't do it because of a conflict, that you recommended someone else.
Well, I would need to be authorized by the village to participate in this. I mean,
I would hope that Zach could participate, and along with my father, who's an antiques expert, and myself, to move forward with the project.
Antiques expert in historic architecture?
Correct.
Okay.
May I just say, I've done 11
if you're going to speak, you have to step forward and you have to speak for the record. You can if you wish.
He's my
father. Your name for the record, sir.
My name is William DeFranz. I'm his father. We're both partners on the building. I've done 11 historic preservations, all 18th century houses. None quite this old, because this one happens to be older than even the board thinks it is. It's actually in the 1675 range. So I've, along with the Historical Society chairman, have gone through this house on numerous occasions. He actually, I submitted a letter the last time I was here that they actually approved me of overseeing this, so.
And we'd love Zach to be involved if he could guide us as well.
This isn't all that
It's
different. I
financial.
think there's a project across the street, some engaged pilasters that the actual condition of them is some question, and we want to preserve as much as we can, kind of thing. I wasn't at that meeting, but I think the board approved my looking in on it to make sure that what is worth preserving can be. I mean, I'm happy to do that. I just don't want to exceed my participation beyond what you approved.
Well, who would be footing the bill? The village. To the council level, I mean, this is obviously a building of interest for a myriad of reasons. It's not in the historic district. I would argue that the interior, not necessarily the outer, because that's new, that's an addition. The interior would warrant some type of, or some form of preservation, maybe even designation at some point, and I don't know what the level of that is, since has it risen to a level where it no longer warrants designation because of the additions around it?
No, I don't think that's true. But maybe it's possible to look at this in stages, and that you would work and then not go beyond a certain level before that's approved. Because this is really about a very selective removal process.
Right.
To discover things worth preserving along the way, and those elements will help you to refine the final design that you want to do. So it's kind of an archaeological thing. I'm not looking to be on site, so much as to review stages as they.
Yeah, I mean, we're quite aware of what is original to the house and what isn't. It's very apparent. So there's not even really a question there. It's just a matter of salvaging what can be salvaged and recreating what can be recreated. The facade is gone, so that needs to be recreated, and that's what that photo is for.
Our only concern is when we say go, there's no oversight. So that's the reason why we asked that there would be a...
There will be oversight. I would love Zach to be involved. As I peel back, like you peel back the onion, we're going to demolish a little bit here and try to save as much as possible. He'd be on board, my dad would be on board, my dad lives in the village.
Council, can we do a written decision so that a part of the overall decision actually warrants?
Well, sure you can, but Zach is saying he doesn't want to get particularly involved. This gentleman is saying Zach is involved. I don't think you've gotten past that issue yet. And by the way, if the village code says you don't have jurisdiction on the inside of an historic building, why would you have jurisdiction on the inside of a building that's non-historic?
Okay.
And if you...
He's saying, and does the board agree that the exterior is completely
We don't know where anyone's at.
in need of, so I don't know where
Well, that's
things
why
are
you
at
can't see the
moment here.
facade, because an addition was put on the front.
Right.
Most of it's gone, because I've torn down walls on the inside just to take a look to see what kind of there's a picture of the clapboard that's there, but it's cut up and.
Well, so what's left on the exterior? That you can see?
The
Let's not
side-
talk
the side
about
of the
what's
house?
blocked by the addition.
Right.
The addition can stay.
No, I don't want the addition to stay.
Right, so
I
then-
want to recreate the original house.
Then if you took the addition off, what's visible then on the exterior?
Well, the
Anything
side of the house is complete. There's a side of the house, there's a porch on the side. That's the right side as you face the house.
No, where the addition is.
Yeah, the addition, there's a couple of additions, but the
Okay,
addition
well,
is in the front.
let's be specific. Which one? East, south, north, or west?
I'm not sure, I don't have a site plan in front of me. I'm
Okay,
not
the
sure
front
which
of the
direction
house
it
faces west.
The front of the house faces west.
Mhm.
That is covering the full facade of the front of the house.
Right.
The left side of the house, facing, I guess, north,
Yep.
is also an addition, so that would be part of what would come down. And so the north and the west facade would be recreated. You can still see the other sides of the house as they stand right now. And the interiors, a lot of it's intact, which we would salvage as well. I know it's not part of the jurisdiction, but because of the nature of the house, we want to make it
I'm not seeing
as-
we have jurisdiction in any of this, actually. The more that I listen, I don't see we have jurisdiction in any of this. Anything that could have possibly been salvaged from the existing, is either no longer exists or it's not visible.
Right.
Which means it's interior, which means we're already out of our jurisdiction.
But because of the nature of the historic value of it, I would like to do it because we care about antique things. There's a lot to save there, and so we want to do it.
So at this point, I think on record that you're willing to go through the process of making sure that whatever can be salvaged will be. In terms of the board's overall jurisdiction and oversight, if Zach would like to go every once in a while to review it, just for purposes of making sure that you're on pace, but this board is not. This is just me. This is just me. I'm going to ask the board how they feel. This board is not going to recommend that we force or that we invoke any type of requirement that he does so. Brian, do you agree?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I applaud you for what you're trying to do, and I'd love to see it get started. For me, I just like to see drawings of what you're going to build.
Yeah.
I think that's the key.
We have the drawings. Do you have?
But it was showing a different facade.
No, I have the new facade drawings.
Yeah,
Did you not
okay.
get it last time?
Is the plans to work? No, that's March.
I got a new drawing of the front facade from my architect.
Okay, they're not in file. I have the plans from March.
So,
It should have been given to you last time.
once.
Can I email it to you? I have it on
No.
the email.
No, we would need to see plans.
So in the new plan, is there a proposed complete, is that a complete plan of what you intend to do?
Yes, the layout, and they're not construction plans, but the facade,
right.
the complete facade is drawn, and the layout of the interior as well.
What does complete facade mean? Are you talking about an elevation?
Yeah.
Is it in the file?
Question.
No.
Plans that I had from March 14th.
There was a revised cover,
Okay, so the file is incomplete. We don't have revised plans.
I don't know why it wasn't given to you last meeting. It should have been. You sure you didn't get anything last meeting?
I don't think anyone showed
didn't
up the
see it,
last
no.
meeting.
No.
Yeah.
I think I remember
I can't show it to you on my
a
phone,
comment
right?
about the architect
You
being
need 2
fired.
copies.
Yeah.
That was the last thing I
So
remember.
I guess we'll adjourn until I can get that to you.
All right, so you'll adjourn until next. Is there any public comment on the application? Okay, anything further from the board?
Yeah, if my, I'm a little bit, not puzzled isn't the right word, but we have a house that everybody seems to say is historic, but by its location, movement, or whatever, it's not treated as such. But we all say it's historic. We have our village historian who's willing to participate, you're willing to have him involved in the process. And perhaps it's because of the idiosyncrasies of the code or whatever, we're saying it's not within our jurisdiction. I don't see why we can't, and maybe it's an issue of paying it, and I would say the few hours that Zach's going to be involved with all the money you have invested, I would like to think that that's something that maybe you would put the bill if the village can't do it. But I would think that a report from Zach, as the process is going on, in fact, before the process begins, is totally appropriate and would give us a better opportunity to make a better decision, which would only, I think, benefit your project. Because we all support your intentions. We just don't know what the results are and what's at risk. So I'd like to see Zach do a report.
I understand that. I don't believe that's the recommendation of the board. That's the one person speaking an opinion. But the fact remains, jurisdiction is jurisdiction.
Yeah.
It has now, anything that was of historical significance has been removed or has been covered. Therefore, it's internal, and we do not have jurisdiction. We set precedents for things that are out of our jurisdiction, we get sued. So instead of that happening, instead of putting the village through some type of legal action, because we're acting out of character, I prefer the nature of the board to move forward, as been stated. You're going to come back with your plan
I
to
can
show.
make copies and come back right now?
No, they have to be stamped.
They would have to be stamped.
Oh, I see, okay.
And even if you were to bring them in this evening, It will be the first time we are reviewing it. We probably, because of the sensitive nature of this, we would adjourn anyway for the next meeting, so everyone would have the opportunity to review.
Okay, great.
Okay, anything further?
Yeah.
Nothing further from them? All right. So you're going to allow us to adjourn, you're requesting that we adjourn so that you can present yourself at our next meeting.
Yes.
May I ask a question?
You can ask whatever.
Now, can we apply to the building department for the building permit to get started
No.
on demolition?
No.
We can't do that yet?
No.
Because it's out of your jurisdiction.
Demolition, you could.
It's,
Yeah.
It would help to start peeling back what we can save.
Is that separate?
Council, I
But the
don't
drawings
disagree
aren't
with
in the
it.
file, that's-
Don't disagree with the request, because it is out of our jurisdiction. However, the application was for both. So we would have to make some type of ruling on the formal ruling on the demolition. Because this was a certificate of appropriateness.
Because
How
stuff
could it be a
is,
certificate of appropriateness?
No, it wasn't. Then you can start.
because stuff is really about to collapse and it's in danger there.
He doesn't have an approval for the new construction, but
But
he
he
can
could apply
request
for
a
demolition.
demolition permit.
Yes.
Okay,
I'm looking forward to seeing your revised plans.
excellent. Thank you.
Motion to approve applicant's request to adjourn.
I make a motion that we approve the applicant of 22 Windmill Lane LLC request to adjourn to our next meeting.
Second,
All in,
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next application, please.
Next application, Emanon East Corporation. I don't think there's anything there.
There wasn't, as of today.
Good evening, members of the board. Again, my name is William McCormick, representing Mr. White and Emanon East. If the board will recall, we were here 2 weeks ago to present the modifications that Mr. White has made to his plans in conformity with the settlement plan orchestrated by the court. The one item that was requested by the board to be modified was the window arrangement. The board having suggested that the second-story window arrangement was somewhat imposing, and asked Mr. White if he would again modify his plans to achieve a different appearance and effect. And I'm pleased to report that Mr. White has done so, certainly in my opinion, in a very effective way. And here is his.
Explain to us exactly what the change is for the record.
Mr. White, go ahead.
The top line of windows, you didn't like the diamond pattern, so I changed them to the, to a, basically a 4 lights. Well, it's a casement.
And you also did away with the bracketing?
Yes, yep. And I also pulled in the top overhang about 6 inches.
Okay. And you removed the panelization, but that was the last meeting, didn't you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Brian, comments?
Do you have plans that reflect these changes?
Do I have the actual blueprint? No. I can't keep drawing blueprints. I mean, I've had 12 revisions, but whatever's on here, they have it on AutoCAD, so they'll just print them as the plan.
Because that was the issue last time, the plans didn't match the rendering.
Do these changes, Mr. White, affect any of the dimensions
No.
of the building or the?
Just the overhangs pulled in 6 inches, that's it.
It certainly looks better.
Yeah,
Thank you.
much better.
I think it's a better rendering too.
That always
Well,
helps.
this was completely different to
Yeah.
the plan.
It's like,
It looks a lot
like
better
year
than-
1 AutoCAD, and this is year.
Yeah.
Susan?
First time seeing it. Where's the previous one? The middle row of windows, I think it's was kind of oppressive.
It was paneled, but that was
No.
changed,
Yeah,
but it was changed to,
so I,
Looks more like really straight.
but
You need a minute?
Isn't that there too many?
yeah,
Jeff, comments?
I think there are two, yes.
Okay, good.
But I think it might be that there are maybe one or two, if there were fewer, if it, or something. I'm not an architect, so I'm loath to say. It just,
And we would point out that the windows are now of a uniform size and type, whereas before there were different patterns and could have given the impression of a more, perhaps, disturbing effect, to put it mildly. That is what my impression of the board's judgment was. And now Mr. White has.
We just have one more board member before you conclude. Jeff?
Right. So my initial take was it was too many windows. I'll defer to Brian in terms of the visual on that. But if you were to take the two windows off the side, I think it would be less all windows. But you mentioned blueprints. Blueprints are important. In fact, the building department cannot go forward without exact blueprints. And one of the things in looking at the file, you had mentioned last time that Michael was willing, and in fact had moved the house back 3 feet, but there's no change in the plot plan from June 2015 to 2016. So I don't see how we could even sign off on that. Not saying that you won't do it, Michael, I'm sure you will. But there's nothing that reflects, that's in the files, that reflects this design, nor the location of the house as is permissible, and as you stated you would move. Well, by submitting what we're putting before the board right now, it is before the board, and it is now reflecting what Mr. White intends to do. He hasn't changed any of the dimensions of the house. He's actually made the windows more uniform, and in that respect, and he's actually lowered the house originally. He's lowered that second roof appearance. He's taken the brackets out. So without altering the entire house, there's very little he could or should do to achieve a more uniform effect. Right. I'm not arguing with what Michael is or is not doing.
Jeff, I think the issue is that Michael is looking for the conceptual improvement of what's going on. He will then translate that into the blueprints, submit those blueprints to conform what's been conceptually agreed to tonight, along with the new site plan.
That's fine.
Well,
so there's nothing for us to sign this evening, though.
You don't sign anything.
Well, I thought Curtis usually signs the blueprint.
You don't have an approval yet.
We don't have the blueprint.
Can we just, Jeff, nothing's been approved, and no one's saying that we're moving forward with approval, so you're putting the cart before the horse. What the applicant is interested in making sure that before he goes through the cost and the expense of going through another set of plans, they're conceptually we are all in agreement. And that way it's narrowed down, it's on record, we've identified aesthetically is pleasing, provided he comes back with a site plan and a proposed plan which replicates everything that's been presented before us this evening. We will be willing to move forward on an approval of the application. Is that correct?
Approve it tonight?
No.
no, because we don't have
I'm not. Listen, last week you told me we didn't need another site plan. We went through this already. I played the tape 20 times today, what exactly you wanted. You said you didn't need another site plan. You said you were fine with it because I had one done by an architect.
That move forward.
Landscape.
Landscape plan.
No.
Landscape.
No.
You had a landscape plan.
No. You have the site plan I gave you that was drawn by the architect. You said that's fine.
It shows it moved forward, correct?
Right.
Move backward.
No, it doesn't.
I don't have to do that, Jeff. I'm doing it as a courtesy.
I'm asking.
That's not part of
it.
We were told that you were doing it.
Please.
I don't have to do that.
Please. So you're still or do not have a set of blueprints or drawings or architectural plans?
Are you kidding? I mean, are you really kidding? I mean, I just spent $1,500 to do this. Okay.
This is great.
Well, that's great, because then I got to go to my architect and spend $3,000 to do it if I don't even know if it's good.
Well, Michael, excuse me. I think that has to be done anyway.
Yeah. But I can bring that to the building department.
No, you have to have the plans signed by signature of this board. Is it a time problem for you?
Yeah. I've missed 3 mortgages so far. I mean, when should I get, you know, at some point, I'm not gonna get
Now,
one.
is there a time problem as of between the last meeting and this meeting?
It took them 2 weeks to do this.
Well, how long will it take them now to just convert that into building plans?
Then I gotta wait for a building permit, and then I gotta go through this again?
Well, that has to be done anyway. The building department can't approve plans that have not been signed off by the
Well,
board.
why don't you take this and sign it, and that the plans have to look like
Because
this?
there's no dimensions on that.
There's-
They're not a conforming set of plans according to our code.
I have to
And that,
literally.
excuse me. And that's what the court asked be done.
That's
And
not what they
your
asked to be
counsel
done.
can confirm that.
Mr. Robinson, I disagree with that. You were there, I was there.
Yeah, I was, and the court
Never
said,
asked
submit a
anything about
conforming
site
set
plans.
of plans.
It didn't say anything about a site plan. It
I'm
said
not talking about the site plan, I'm talking about the building plans.
the building plan, as Mr. White had submitted, was not objected to.
Of course it
wasn't an
was, that's
issue.
why
That's
the
why-
windows had been altered.
No, it wasn't an issue that we had to resolve before the court. We only had to provide a landscape plan prepared by an architect, a streetscape, which Mr. White
And
presented.
a conforming set of building plans.
And
There's-
it was not part of the requirement.
Well, I disagree with you. I disagree if you want to go back to court, we can do that.
We should do that.
Then that's what we
Because
have
this
to do.
is all over again. You guys should watch the tape and watch what happened last week, because I don't think some of you were there, because that's not what you asked me for. That's not what happened. And I didn't have to change those windows. That wasn't part of anything. I did it because you asked me to do it. And now you're being unreasonable. You told me to change the grills, which I did, and I pulled in 6 inches the overhang. That was it. I did it.
We agree.
So you want me to come back another time?
No, we want the application to be complete. I have to stamp a set of plans with dimensions so that the building department can approve the
Well, you
application.
should have told me
for
that
building.
last week, because I would have brought them here.
You've been before this board how many times?
I've seen you do,
And-
I've seen you verbally take people's plans and agree to stuff and mark notes on the plan. I've seen you do it.
With an architect, yes. When there's a license, and the 3 questions I asked, are you a licensed architect?
Oh, you've
Are you
done-
the architect
You've done
on
that with an
file?
architect?
Are
Okay.
you the architect
I'm
on
gonna bring
file?
the case that you did it multiple times to one person, okay? Multiple times.
Please do, please do.
I will.
You can do that next time, and you can bring the plans
Well,
in, and you'll have the 2 weeks to
Listen,
do it.
listen, you were told what to do in court, all right? It wasn't move the house back, it wasn't to do any of this nonsense. He said to do it as
Excuse me,
a...
Michael. If your attorney and I disagree with the court said, that's one issue. But you weren't there.
Okay, well,
Okay?
I believe my
I'm just
attorney.
saying that at the time of the court, there was not a complete landscape plan, nor was there a conforming quarter-inch scaled building plan. In order for this board to approve something, they need a quarter-inch scaled building plan. Technically, that plan should be reviewed by the building department before it comes here. But
you don't
excuse
have
me,
a plan?
Michael, let me finish. Because you're too interested in just debating what I say. The board is trying to expedite this, and they're not making you submit the plans first to the building department and then come here and then have them changed. You've agreed that what's in front of you now conceptually represents what you're willing to do. The board, as I understand it, has conceptually agreed that that's acceptable. It now falls upon everybody to get that concept reduced to quarter-inch scaled plans that the building department can review for all the things that they have to review, and that this board can then sign off on. If you can do that within 2 weeks, it's over.
Well, you have a set of quarter-inch plans there from last meeting.
Not with this design.
Well, then I don't want this design. It doesn't say, from what my attorney says, it doesn't say that there were any quarter-inch plans missing in the file. I never heard that before.
My notes from that court discussion reflect that that was not in the file, and that's what the court said. If you want to go back and confirm that with the judge and waste that much more time,
I will, because they're marked up.
You know, you've said that before.
The plans are in there, and John Foster marked them.
Those plans reflecting that design are not in the file.
I don't want to do these anymore. I'm done with these. Let's just do the ones that we agreed on in court. John Foster marked them. He said they were too high. He made me redraw them to 30 feet. It was 30 feet 7 inches. He made me redraw it last week to 30 feet. He says it's got to conform. That's what I did. So let's go into the old plans, because I'm not coming back. This is like number 7, all right, in 2 years. I'm not doing it. So disapprove it or do whatever you want. Say it's incomplete, but I gave you a complete set last week. And as a courtesy, I went and did more work, okay? So I don't know what you want me to do, but I'm not coming back.
No, you know what we want you to do.
Okay, well, it's not acceptable. Your lawyer has to listen to the judge, okay?
You are refusing to move forward.
Well, listen, no, you're refusing to listen to the code, okay? I've been doing this for 30 years. You have a code to follow.
Well, then why didn't you bring a set of quarter-inch scale
I did
plans
last time.
for this design?
I don't want this design anymore. Do the ones that we agreed on. You just said that I don't have a quarter-inch set in the file. There's been
Of
5
this
sets.
design, do I have to complete the sentence to that specificity?
No, you said the court said that.
The court said the file had to have a quarter-inch scale
No, it
set of
didn't. It already
plans.
had one.
It had one that wasn't acceptable.
To who?
To the board.
Well, it was acceptable to the judge. So I don't know what...
No, it wasn't. The judge instructed you to come back to this court and work out with the board an acceptable design.
I'm so over with legal fees. I'll just keep going. Because this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. You know, you asked me to do something. I did it as a courtesy. I didn't have to do this. Nobody told me to do this in court.
I'm glad
and
you
I
said
did it as a courtesy. I gave you a set of plans that was supposedly okay from the court. And I gave them to the building department, and they cut the roof. They made me cut the roof, and I redrew it to 30 feet. That was what was accepted, and now it's not.
It is my understanding, counsel will correct me if I'm wrong, that you had an incomplete application prior, so it was not any ruling on the design or aesthetics of the application as a whole. You have come back before this board now to complete the process. Recommendations were given for the window. You made those changes. As part of a complete application now, it requires a set of plans, just like anybody else.
So you think the judge was worried about the aesthetics of the house?
I don't know what the judge was worried about. I know what my board's responsibility is. We're an aesthetic board.
You should read what was written for the notes, because that was not part of it. I read his notes. That was not part of it.
Did you read mine?
No.
Here you go.
All right, this is going around.
Well, you should bring it back and then...
Last point, Mr. Chairman. Just reviewing the last decision of the court, of the board that brought us to court. There's no reference in there about changing the plans to conform to anything that Mr. White had not already done. The specific objections that the board made, every one of them was addressed at court, and they have been since complied with. So even following
Sir, that decision, those bullet points were selective bullet points as to examples of what was wrong with the file, one of which was a landscape plan. It was not a definitive list of everything that was wrong with the file. And it's part of the established... That doesn't say it's a definitive list.
This is the decision of this board.
That's right, and it pointed out 6 or 7 deficiencies in the application. It didn't say all of the deficiencies.
The board is bound by its own decision.
And that's what the decision is. It pointed out those deficiencies.
If you want to expand the decision, you have to amend it. You didn't do that. We followed the directions of the board.
That is a bizarre interpretation of that decision. And you're the one who objected to the fact that there was a written decision, weren't you?
Your decision. You wrote it.
Right.
So now
where does it say that where does it say that that is the exclusive list of all the deficiencies in the file?
Isn't that the whole point?
Where does it say in that decision that that is an exclusive list of all the deficiencies in the file?
Where does it say that it's not?
You're the one, the burden of proof is on you.
No, you wrote it.
That's right.
So you have to, if you want to amend what you
I don't need to amend it. He needs to have a complete file.
Because you didn't, you said this is what was wrong and we complied.
This board does not approve, nor does the village code allow for the approval of it. Can I say something? This board can't do anything but sign off on approved quarter-inch plans. The building department needs that to review.
The building department already approved the plans.
Where's the approval?
He wouldn't be here without that.
Where is the written approval of the building department on the plans?
They don't make written approval.
They do. They sign it. You know that. You've been here 30 times.
Where are they? I've never seen one.
I'm asking you. They're your plans.
Show me in the file. It must have got here. It must show me where the building department says everything's good.
That's not for this board to prove that. It's for you to establish it to the board.
What is this, Abbott and Costello? I mean, you just said that they approve it. How would I have it?
I said they approve written plans. I didn't say they approved your plans. I'm asking you to submit the copy of the plans that you say the building department has approved.
Don't they send them over? Like, why would I get them?
That's the building department.
What I don't understand.
I don't work here. You work here.
I don't work here.
what I don't understand
I work
is
in my
the
office.
plans have to be changed anyway, right? You have to go through a change as a final file in order to get your building permit. That's just point blank, you have to do. What we're saying is 2 weeks, because to do something you're already supposed to do as part of the process. That's all we're saying. It's not an unreasonable request. It has to be done anyway.
Well, let me ask you a question. Is this good enough?
We've all said that we...
So all you're waiting for is quarter-inch plans?
Absolutely.
Change the dimensions on your plan to reflect. One of the problems you did, Michael, was last time when you came, you showed us that, which was completely different to the plans that you had in. This facade was not in those plans with these little twiddly bits and the, you know. So we asked you to come up with a different rendering that matched. This is better.
Okay.
You need to change the dimensions on your plan.
If this is the final thing you want, I will do it. But I don't want to come back again because that's not what we discussed. We never discussed another set of plans. We discussed.
I know that's part of the process. So let's just end it here, because that's part of the process. And the fact that we have to let you know what the process is moving forward. I mean, you said for yourself, you've been here a few times. We've said that we are in favor of that design. If you come back before this board with elevations and plans that show that design, we are in favor for.
Okay.
If you come back, hear me out, if you come back before the board with any one thing different, it opens the book up for us to reevaluate what you submit. So it would have to replicate exactly what's in that rendering.
Okay.
And other than that, is it the board's sense that the application is complete?
Once we receive the file, once we receive the plans.
Thank you.
Any public comment? Please step forward.
Please bring 2 sets of plans.
Yeah, 2 sets.
Good evening, Maggie Finnerty from Woolley Street. I think you know this is probably the most controversial house in the whole town, and he complains about the amount of time spent here. But all of his time is money. All our time is free. When you started these hearings, we had 18 people from Woolley Street showed up. You never get that. Last week there were 22 houses. 2 people showed up. Except for this project, 6 people showed up. Tonight, for a variety of reasons, these people couldn't come, but several of them went to the building department last week to look at the plans because you told them to put the new plans in. They weren't there. Went this morning, late this morning, they weren't there. There were no new plans. It's very important that you don't make any decisions or promises until what the process is in this village is supposed to be, that they're supposed to file in a timely fashion so that the public has an opportunity to look at it. Because we have no idea what this was that you like. I'm really happy he's come up with something you like. But it's really important that the public is able to go down there, look at them in a timely fashion, think about them, and come to these meetings at night. So I hope you'll consider that. As you know, we've been talking about the windows forever. A concern, I think you might remember Barbara, who has attended every single meeting and was not able to tonight. She's very concerned about the back decking on the upper part of the house, which she said was not discussed last week, and she does not have access to it because it does in fact look directly down on her house and swimming pool. And I don't know whether there's an open door on that or not, but I'd like you to at least look at that. And I know it's a thing you've considered in many other houses, the idea of privacy, so that you're not putting decks up above that are looking down into people's yards. I've continue to be concerned about the street trees when I look at the plans that are in there, which, by the way, have not been changed 12 times. The position of the trees in the street, I just want to make sure again that you're not approving anything that would approve the cutting down of street trees.
Maggie, this board does not deal with trees in the street right of way.
Okay.
And
but
it never has, and you've raised that issue before, and we told you that the board does not, nor do we deal with fire hydrants.
But it has to be dealt with, I say.
It's the highway department that deals with those issues.
Okay, but it has to get before the fire department.
No, it has
to.
The highway department doesn't review building permit applications.
Well, who decides whether the trees can be cut down again or not?
The trees cannot be cut down. It's a
Okay.
village tree, the village decides whether it's cut down or not.
Okay, good, as long as it gets in front of that board, because last week you
There's no
mentioned, well,
board,
there's
it's the
law.
highway department.
Highway department, whoever. So I just want to make sure that that in fact happens, and concerning.
This is no board to say that you want to make sure this happens. They don't have any way of communicating with the highway department. This is not an enforcement board.
Can the applicant give his word that he's not cutting down any highway trees?
No.
Well, how does it get to the proper people to make sure, since we say it makes sure, how does it get there?
It's not up for this board to engage in this discussion. You can ask the building department these questions tomorrow, and I'm sure Mr. Foster can tell you.
All right. I hope you will.
I'm available to talk with you at any time during business hours.
Okay, the trees are really important to us, and when you approve a driveway, if it goes right through a tree, which I have a suspicion it does, we should all be concerned about that.
Any more public comment? Okay, so you have those plans at the next meeting, correct? Correct. And there will be a replication of what has already been discussed to the dimension as well as to the rendering that's been proposed, that's been handed to this board this evening. And you're asking the board to adjourn so you can prepare yourself for that, correct? Motion to approve applicant's request to adjourn until the next meeting.
I make a motion that we approve the applicant Enron East Corporation on Louis Street request to adjourn to our next meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next application, please.
Next application is Frederick Eaton, driveway gate.
Yeah. Okay, motion to adjourn.
Make a motion that we adjourn the application of Frederick Eaton on Moses
Gentlemen, gentlemen, excuse me. That's right underneath the recording device. Just let me know.
Second.
Aye.
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 All in favor?
Yes, all right, next application, please.
Next application is Ricky L. Associates, 230 Bishop's Lane.
Jeffrey Gibbons, architect, on behalf of the applicant.
This is the amendment of prior ARB approval?
Yes. Here are 5 sets of the elevations, which I think, never mind.
Are they identical to scale, size?
Yes.
It's just small
2 of the
renderings?
plans that are now in the file.
Correct, for the record, I have a copy of the agent letter and posting email.
And 2 copies of the front rendering.
That explains a lot. No, you really can't see that in plans.
The indent.
If you look at one of the side elevations, I think it's might be more.
What are the changes?
The majority of the changes are in the center of the house, and the window light patterns.
Yeah.
I think they were 1/1 before, and now they're, and by the way, the windows on the second floor will be 2/2, like all of the other windows in the house.
Okay, I'm confused. Which rendering is the front elevation? The color rendering or the elevation?
They should match. It's just the fact that
they don't match.
They don't match at all. Windows are different. The windows on
the windows in the dormer are different. You're
dormer
right.
are different.
You're right.
The windows in the
side
center
lights are different, and the railing is the same. So which one is it?
It's the
rendering or the drawing?
The drawings.
The drawings.
Open window?
So what he's saying is this.
Okay, so let's turn
I
this over.
apologize for that.
Okay. The rendering is more successful.
It's just going to say the same thing.
Couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah, the picture window and the,
Yeah.
Yeah, right over the
And
front
also the
door.
dormer, they're more space, they're better proportionally to
Right.
scale.
and the front, the side lights.
Yeah.
And it sets,
Yeah, the shorter side lights.
this is all different, see these?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, did you say that the,
Color rendering.
is better?
Yes.
Is that the original, that's what you're working off of? The rendering?
No, we were working off of the,
Red color plastic.
I apologize, it seems we're wasting the board's time. I ask for an adjournment.
Certainly.
Like, okay.
Well, unless you want to take it into consideration, it seems like it's just confusing to you.
Well, it's not, it's, the confusion is that we're seeing two different renderings, so we're trying to,
But this is the one you're proposing now.
And then this one is better.
And that one, where did that
I
one come?
can't believe that you like the third floor dormer windows that look like they belong in a Levittown house on that rendering.
did you say a Levittown house?
I grew up in Levittown,
Okay.
okay? So I can say
All right.
I love a townhouse.
But how is that different than what
Yeah.
you're showing except for
They're-
the size of the windows?
That's what I'm saying, the size of the windows.
No, if you put a divided light in those windows, that would be terrific. That would have been my comment on it, but this showing a large window in the middle with two smaller ones on the side as it progresses up the house, you know, I think this is much more successful.
I'm confused.
Okay.
Yeah, the transients, everything is, the whole center is different.
Right.
But honestly, the third story dormer, I don't know, I kind of prefer the difference. I'm looking at that, and I would love to see it in color, but I think it's a pretty, you're saying no, I know you're saying no.
No, I'm saying it needs
It needs lights.
lights, because everything else is in twos.
Yes.
And
Oh, I
it's
see.
3, 3, 3 instead of 3 picture window with 2 ones and the picture window with 2 ones.
All right, so you have some, I guess, and I would hope that next meeting, the color rendering would match.
Please understand the process.
And
You need elevations and renderings and plans that all match each other.
Thank you.
And is it possible to show what you're actually amending on the
You want it
plan?
bubbled?
Yeah, if
By
you could
color or
show
something, because we,
before
It's
the
hard
colors.
On the
Right.
plans, yeah, I mean, on the elevations and plans,
Right.
it may be difficult
Right.
on the rendering
Right.
because
no,
it may
I'm not
block
saying the
rays.
rendering, on
Yeah,
the
okay.
plans,
All
because
right.
then it's so much easier for us to read what you're asking for, so.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
So what, should we just ditch this?
No, you can't ditch, it has to be part of the file.
No,
All right,
you
so-
can have one.
Okay, your request the board to adjourn to the next meeting.
Yes.
Motion to approve applicant's request to adjourn until next meeting.
I make a motion that we accept the request of Ricky L. Associates on Bishop's Lane, request to adjourn to our next meeting.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Next application, please.
Samuel Feinstein?
What happened to the driveway gates on number 3?
No one was here. We adjourn.
No,
Yeah, I'm Freddie.
oh, number 3 down here. Driveway.
For the applicant, my name is Aaron. I'm the project architect at Kevin O'Sullivan and Associates. A little background, we were at the zoning board of appeals meeting last week. We made a few changes to the location of the house. So I have a new packet reflecting that and also some 3D rendering.
Are they small?
They're small.
Small, yeah.
Yeah? Okay.
But you have to still go back to the zoning board of appeals.
That's
sir?
right. Very interesting. The issue at hand with the zoning board was the fact that we have a small amount of ridge outside of the pyramid. So we've moved the house over, we flipped the side yard setbacks. What was the 25 foot is now the 20, what was 20 is now 25. So we reduced our variance request from about 267 square feet to 17 square feet. So we're going to go back to them.
So the variance on either side is, the setback is different on either side?
Well, it's a total of 45 feet with a minimum of 20 feet on one side. And we decided to go 20 and 25, but reversed it and pushed the house 5 feet to the west. The plan of the house didn't change, and neither did the elevations or the materials. But I just thought it would be a good idea to give you the latest.
Thank you.
Just go over the material, for clapboards, roof material.
Sure. So the siding we're proposing is mahogany rain screen. It's alternating board widths, sort of like a board and batten barn style. And then the roof is going to be a hand split shingle, which is more of a rough edge shingle, and we'll use an oversized shingle. There'll be Yankee gutters, internal rain gutters within the roof, so there's no even rake profile or detail to speak of. We'll do large size aluminum window frames, color to be determined, but probably a dark bronze. Everything will be left raw to weather, so the plan is to have it gray out, silver out over time. The main design idea is to really just have one main volume parallel to the street with an unbroken ridge, and a secondary volume turned perpendicular, which is connected by the entryway and what you see as that flat horizontal plane across the front of the house. Existing garage will remain in the backyard. We'll do a new pool. The present pool is vinyl. And then also a small open pergola and a fireplace in the backyard.
Are they solar panels on the, up at the ridge?
No, this is going to be a skylight.
It's not on your roof plan.
It's going to be a what?
Skylight.
You're right.
Jeff, comments?
I think it's an interesting design. I just don't see it on this property in that community. It is such a diversion from anything else on that street. I can imagine beautiful acreage where it could be very interesting in its barn-like and stark quality, but without with the board and batten, without the soffits, with bronze windows framed and big broad openings, I just find it harmonious with the entire neighborhood.
Susan?
I thought it, when it was the other direction, I thought it on the side, but I can't find that on these plans. It seems so heavy. So you flipped that master bedroom side. I was
Well, really all we did was move the house on the property 5 feet
So why
west.
can't I find it?
I think that one thing that happens with more contemporary houses is that the two-dimensional elevations cannot always tell the whole story, and things can start to look very massive when really they're happening in different planes. And so my goal with the 3D renderings, even though they're just the street facade, is to really show how the house is going to really read on the street as much smaller than some of the stuff that we're seeing now. The volumes being broken up and not all connected with dormers, the simplified design, I think may be different from what you're used to seeing on Cooper's Farm Road, but I think that, I'd like to think that people will find it interesting.
Interesting is one thing, different is another, which is allowable. Question is it harmonious? And you're saying that your reading of the design is in keeping with the community overall. It's a welcome addition to the community. Your
I mean, if there's someone here who wants to, from the neighborhood that thinks otherwise, we can hear their comment, but I think it's...
Well, that's what actually our responsibility
right,
is.
okay. I think we live in Southampton Village and we see a very broad spectrum of housing types. I think we see a lot of traditional work that is disharmonious to me, at least. I think it's a welcome addition to the fabric of the village.
Brian, comments?
I agree with Jeff. I don't see it on Cooper's Farm. I think it's a beautiful design. It's a great contemporary barn. But, you know, Cooper's Farm is a newer subdivision with traditional houses on it. So, and this is the lot right past the museum?
Yeah. First house.
The first house past the museum, right?
Yes.
So, I'm having trouble with it.
Christine?
Yes, I mean, Cooper's Farm has very traditional houses on it, and this is an interesting design, but I don't see this fitting there. I think it would be startling rather than interesting.
Respectfully, I think Cooper's Farm has a lot of postmodern houses that are not really in keeping with what someone like Brian would design and put a commission on the street.
You don't have to piss out. The reason why I asked this question is because I was actually thinking it before they start saying it, that this, it is even though there's a eclectic style in that community and it's starting to become a little more traditional with the new homes, I think this takes it way in the opposite direction. There's a place for it. I don't know if it's on Cooper's. So how do we make it a little more traditional and break? That's unfortunately, we're not a board that designs your home for you. Mm-hmm. We can make recommendations and suggestions, but at the end of the day, it's really the interpretation of the applicant and the architect to come up with and present a plan which is more in keeping with the community overall. So we're going to ask that you please go back and see what we can do, speak with the homeowner or whoever the applicant is, and see what you can do about softening some of the non-traditional features of the house.
We're not going to submit a traditional house.
No one's asking you to do that. We're saying this style, this design.
I have to have integrity with the design. If I was asked to do a traditional house, I would do the most beautiful one I could. But I was asked to do a modern barn. I can't go back to them and water that down.
Understood. You just have to go back to them and say this board's not approving.
Brian?
You think he's the softer one?
I mean, Curtis, at the end of the day, and Brian will back me up on this, you know, this, I'm an architect, but I'm also a salesman trying to keep a customer happy.
Understood.
This is the house that they want, right? So, you know, I don't think that you can really make a great case that this house is so out of character with that street, with a lot of lackluster architecture, to reject it.
Well, this is the reason why there's 5 people on the board, not 1. The reason why is because there's 5 personalities, and I think this is probably the most diverse board we've ever had in a very long time. So you're referring to different skill set, different career. The layman, only one person is who is licensed and qualified to make, quite frankly, he is the architect. So with that said, we are all looking at it independent eyes, saying the same thing. There's something in that. So
we don't have a streetscape in the file, or pictures of the houses on the street for you to make your argument that this would fit in.
No, I mean, I think that there's so much architecture on that street that no one house fits in with more than 1 or 2 other houses. on the block. I mean, the house across the street is like a 70s utopian weird thing. You know, there's a bunch of bad postmoderns. There's some nicer traditional homes on the street, but disharmonious, I don't think so.
Unfortunately, right now we're at a standstill. And so the case that you're presenting right now doesn't, it doesn't win over any of the 5 members of this board. So if you really want to defend your argument, you would have to come before this board with a viable defense. These are the homes that you're comparing this to. Now, we're not asking you to replicate a home in the community. Right. No one's asking you to do that. Every home doesn't have to be white cedar shingle, white trim, cedar roof. We're asking that you have the right and the opportunity to have license to create something beautiful. And we're not, and I know it's very tough, trust me, we're not saying your baby's ugly. We're just saying that where it's located, what you're currently presenting, we don't feel that it qualifies to be in the community as it's currently being presented. And I'll tell you what, the part of the responsibility of this board is also in keeping with the community.
Mm-hmm.
We have to, so we have a responsibility to do so. And if it was 1 or 2 people saying something different, there's an argument. But if you're having 5 independent people saying the same thing, I just ask that you just walk away, have a couple, I want to say have a couple drinks, think about it, and then...
Is that the case, all 5 members?
I actually like your house, but it's so out there because the cars are in the front, right? There's a gravel course,
well,
so there's so it's...
In reality, there's a 2-car garage behind the house.
That's fine, but
that's where the cars are going to park. I showed the house there because I have to show 8 parking spots.
But on Cooper's Farm,
right.
it's with the parking in the front, your house that doesn't really, that takes some imagination to think that it would be in that community. And then it's starkly put out with no buffer to the street, I think is...
Well, I think the site plan does show
I see what the
2 tiers of planting along the front of the house.
That's not, I see that, I saw that.
Right, so...
but they're hedges.
Right.
I mean, the object, so what you have is a fairly stark modern house in a place where we don't see a lot of that. And then in that community.
Okay.
And then we have it completely showing itself to the street, I would say.
I mean, it's really, we're gonna have 1 tier of hedges at 10 feet, we're gonna have a softening tier at 6 feet. So the house is not really showing itself to the street. You've got a lot of village greenery right there on the east property line covering up. We're going to have your
verbal argument aside.
Yes.
You really need to present, and if you really truly feel that this is something that you stand behind, and you don't want to make any changes, which I suggest you do. But if you don't choose not to make any changes, you need to come before this board with samples, a streetscape, samples of what currently is there, and be able to demonstrate the design, preferably in color, dimension, to give a visual on what the streetscape would look like as we were walking, riding our bikes, or driving down the road.
Okay, Curtis, I mean, okay. I mean, this house is not getting traditionalized. It's not getting watered down.
Curtis, it just seems like
form is already traditional.
Argument.
Your form is already traditional, but it's the third line is traditional.
Right. That's as far as we're not going to add needless ornamentation to it, though. I know I've been with our client for a year now.
Okay.
You know, so.
But you also, I mean, you just said yourself, and one salesperson to another, you have the responsibility at the end of the day. It doesn't make any difference what you propose. The end result is to get it built. That's the end result. So at the end of the day, you have a responsibility to go back to your client and let them know the truth. There's some issues. All 5 members of the board had some issues with the design of the house. Maybe we can work on something a little bit better. I know you're an artist and you're sensitive about your stuff. but there's still a process that we have to undergo, and we have a responsibility. We're holding that firm as 5-panel board independently to say, you need to go back and maybe look at another alternative, or come back with a viable argument that will try to persuade us to think differently. But understand something, if it doesn't work, now you're another week without an approval. And you may have to go back to the drawing board.
Right.
Preferably, probably the best way to do it is to present your case, but in addition to that, have an alternative.
Brian, if you're in my shoes, what do you do to this house?
Go back to my client and say, the board doesn't think it fits into the village.
It's not the house, it's the location.
The house is beautiful.
The house
I
is
mean,
No question about that.
I
It's
didn't
just a
tell them
piece
to
of
buy
land.
that piece of land, you know,
Exactly.
that's like,
Neither did we, though.
right.
So, we've been faced with this quite a few times. We had a house on the beach, it's very modern, absolutely beautiful. It was on the wrong beach.
Oh, you got sued. So,
You got sued?
yeah,
Okay.
but we won.
Lawsuit.
But we won.
But we hope we see you back.
Okay.
Okay, so
Thank
you
you.
ask the board to adjourn so you can prepare yourself for
Will
it.
you please adjourn so I can...
Motion to approve applicant's request to adjourn till our next meeting.
Thank you.
I make a motion that we adjourn at the applicant's request Samuel Feinstein to our next meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next application, the applicant requests, submitted a letter to request to adjourn. Is it till the next meeting, or do we know a date? I'm sorry?
To the June 27th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Motion to approve applicant's request to adjourn until
July 11th.
July 11th.
On the next agenda. Yeah.
I make a motion that we adjourn at the applicant's request, Beach Park Meadows LLC, to our next meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next application, please.
Next application is 85 Lee Creek.
Joe Ricardo, 85 Hetty Creek.
Posting in the mail?
Yeah, no problem. He does that.
Okay, that's up to you guys. This is the posting, but the
I
mailing.
signed it, but he has the,
We don't have the mailing.
he
We
wasn't.
don't have jurisdiction. I have the mailing.
Oh, you do, okay, okay, I just had one, I thought I had to get it notarized, okay, sorry.
Be quiet.
You guys have small files, I believe, we gave you these. They should be in your
Yes.
file. You have a landscape plan?
Yep.
And this as well. So, 85 Hetty Creek, it's basically an acre on Hetty Creek at the beginning of a cul-de-sac. It's a 6-bedroom house. Going to be done up in cedar shake. It's got a front covered porch with black shutters, marbled windows, white detail. There's 2 chimneys in Danish blend brick. Basically, there are 4 bedrooms on the second floor and 2 bedrooms on the first floor, and there is a front covered porch. The north exit will be closed so that there'll just be a south exit. That goes right back, right into the garage. House is roughly over 6,200 square feet, and there is a pool and a pool house.
Brian, what do you think about those roofs?
There's a lot of them. But I think you need to see it in 3D. Get a sense of how it's like that.
Do we have a 3D rendering?
I don't. I mean, what don't you like about the roofs, Brian?
No, we've seen these roofs a lot, and there's the swoopiness,
But it goes with the area. If you go look at, if you
It
look
totally
at the
does.
site,
But
every
So
house,
your elevations.
When you're looking at something one-dimensional,
I understand.
there's variations, and it's probably beautiful,
Right.
but the way it reads, it
I
just
know,
looks
but
busy.
as you know, a color addition is $1,500. What is the reason for it? It's on a cul-de-sac. It's in harmony, there's a front covered porch, it's a traditional house. I mean, that should have been then something that's needed for everybody, a colored rendition.
It's not,
I know, but every time I come here, you ask me for a colored rendition. And this is a typical Southampton house. Why can't we make a decision without a color rendition and waste 2 more weeks? You did this to me on Wine Dance. You did it to me on Great Plains. You did it to me on every house. And they're all harmonious houses.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Since we've done it 4 other times, why do you do this?
Because I'm tired of spending the money, Curtis.
Oh, I
Because you don't ask everybody for this.
You know what?
I mean, let's be honest. You don't ask everybody
And
for
it's not necessary for everyone.
Right,
When you
it's a
have, when you have
property.
when you have a home that has, that is a little more traditional,
Right.
it's not needed for that type of
If
home.
this is not traditional, then there is not a
But
traditional
for,
home.
and understand something, I don't think at any point that we say,
Mhm.
or request you to come with a 3-dimension rendering. We said it's helpful. I didn't.
He just asked for it.
He said it would be
It'd be helpful
helpful.
for Curtis to understand the
you.
roof line.
I didn't say.
I get it.
I think
Order.
Curtis understands the roof line.
I don't know.
I
From
think
elevation,
so.
it's
I
kinda
think
hard.
Curtis can understand the roof line, Brian.
Okay.
I do.
What do you guys think? Jeff?
I don't necessarily, having seen the houses that Joe has built before, I don't necessarily have to see a rendering. On the other hand, no, I'm not gonna say anything. I think $1,500, I think you can afford, Joe, but I'm not gonna put my hands in your pocket.
You said that to me about the last roof you made me
I
put
know,
on the house.
and the house looks great.
I know,
And the house looks
but it's
great.
just not fair all the time to just make me do a color rendering. You
Yeah,
guys have not seen, you've seen more than
No
one
one said
house.
color, you're still defeating, I'm sorry, battling and arguing over color rendering.
Okay.
I'm just gonna say this, with all due respect for the nature and probably the cost of this house, there's no argument about the 1,500. I'm not saying I need a color rendering, but it would not be an argument for you to say.
I understand that.
And the cost would be a hardship.
didn't say
However,
I'm just looking to get approved and not waste 2 more weeks.
understood. I understand what you're trying to do. So,
And the landscape, is there a landscape plan?
yes, there's a landscape plan as
Can I show
well.
it to you?
We're not there yet. I don't wanna,
Okay.
I don't wanna hopscotch all over the place. We're talking about the
okay.
elevations. We have questions about the elevations.
Not really.
Okay. Christine?
I don't have a problem with this.
Jeff?
Brian?
I'm sorry. It's a long night, but
Yeah, it's a long list.
There are things that could be improved, but overall, I think it's fine.
I know your designs now. I've
Yeah.
seen them before. Present them. Just do it next time. Show the landscape.
There's extensive landscape.
Yeah, I know, I saw it in the
Yeah.
book.
Only if you want boxwood.
Yeah.
So the property flattens out on this
I'm
last.
saying, give my pool that blue.
Paint.
You gotta hire him.
It slopes down quite a bit, but it does flatten out here. So we want to capture this with a graduating retaining wall that goes down. This wall is about 4 feet at its highest, and it goes down. This is pretty much the flattest area of the property.
Just show that to the camera. Camera.
So the London plains are beautiful along the street. We're using flowering crepe myrtles, dogwoods. We have cryptomerias along the back of the property. We have 25-foot Lelands. There's a house here that we're blocking out for their purposes and ours. And this bluestone walkway is on center of this terrace here, and they have a beautiful vista of there. I guess we'll make some sort of perennial garden or something in here.
And is there another house you're blocking out over here?
This is a long flagged driveway that goes down this way.
Right.
There's a house on this side, but she has pretty big plants that I planted.
Yeah, okay.
Any public comment on the application? Anything further from the board? All right, motion to approve.
I make a motion that we approve the application of 83 Lane. It says headache.
Right.
Second.
83 Lane.
All in favor?
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. And final application for this evening.
David Rimland for driveway gates.
David
Rimland, 52 Willie. Do you have a copy of the driveway deeds?
Yes, yes. Let me ask you a question. How many driveway gates have you seen on Willie Street?
There are none.
So this will be the first application requesting, setting a precedent for the community?
It's on Willie Street?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what you need.
There's a driveway gate on Halsey, which is like right off the corner of Willie.
Okay. Are these pillars brick?
I have an issue with this application, and I'll just start it off. I think that this introduces to the community something that it was never intended to be. That the driveway gates, I don't see its purpose. I don't see it in keeping with the overall integrity of the community. I have issues with driveway gates to begin with, but in certain locations they're reasonable and they're acceptable. I don't think Willie Street is the location. Brian?
I feel the same way.
Christine?
I do too.
I couldn't agree more.
These are just too imposing.
Same, this is a neighborhood that has the charm of village homes and gates.
Modest villas.
And neighborly.
And gates speak to mansions and pretension, and it's just out of character, maybe.
Okay.
Any public comments on the application? Do you have a comment? Do you want to step forward and give it?
Just reiterating what you're saying about Willie Street having no gates, he refers to the gate that you passed on last year, that's on Halsey. That's back, it's subtle brown, it's recessed, you never see it from the street unless you're right in front of it, and we question the need for that.
That's not true, actually. The gate's like right on the street.
You have to be up at the microphone to speak, I'm sorry.
These are massive, massive stone blocks with a 2-foot lantern on top. He has several pictures in the file that I have no idea what the relevancy of them are. I don't know how it's tied to.
It doesn't seem that the board as a whole has an issue with that, so do you have anything in addition to add?
I just wanted to say also that Mr. Waldman, who lives directly across the street, had applied for a gate that was way recessed back on his property and was turned down, previously saying was inappropriate on Willie Street.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
The applicant left.
Well, there you go. I take it.
Okay.
The other half.
Are you representing the applicant?
I could.
Okay, could you step forward and your name for the record, because right now we're at a standstill.
Yeah.
I understand. Your name for the record, please.
Justine Rimland.
Okay, you're the wife, he just left you.
Sorry.
That's okay. You have to go on with
Okay,
it.
so for the record, the board doesn't seem to be in favor of the application as submitted. Therefore, you have the discretion of either presenting a argument to support your application, or you can withdraw the application, or you can ask this board to vote, which would be a denial.
I'm going to ask to withdraw.
Okay. So, motion to approve applicant's request to withdraw the application from
I
our.
make a motion that we approve the applicant on Willie Street, David Rimland, request to withdraw the application.
Second. All in favor?
Aye. Thank you.
Thank
Signed.
you. Thanks. I hope you find them. That was after minutes from June 13th.
Please go look for him in Bellingham.
Every board member had the opportunity to review.
Yes.
Questions, comments, concerns? Any errors or omissions?
No.
Motion to approve the minutes from June 13th.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes from June 13th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And motion to close this evening's meeting.
I make a motion that we close the meeting of the Board of Architecture Review and Historic Preservation on June 27th, 2016.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Happy 4th of July.